Something unseen happened that day, something so subtle no human eye noticed, yet the heavens recorded every silent detail. A moment passed without words, without rebuke, without sound, yet it carried weight heavier than mountains upon hearts. It was not an action of cruelty, nor a word of anger, but a fleeting expression that altered history forever. And from above 7 heavens, the Lord of all worlds responded to that silent moment with eternal revelation. In the burning heart of ancient Makkah, power walked with pride, and truth struggled quietly among hardened souls. The air carried dust, arrogance, and whispers of resistance against a message that threatened idols and inherited power. Among those streets walked Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, carrying a mission greater than kingdoms and empires combined. His heart burned not for wealth or control, but for saving souls from a fire unseen yet more real. Day after day he called his people with patience, enduring mockery, rejection, and insults sharper than desert winds. Still, he continued, because every soul mattered, every heart held potential, and every moment carried eternal consequence. He understood his society deeply, knowing leaders shaped minds, and minds shaped entire tribes and generations ahead. If leaders accepted truth, the masses would follow, and oppression against believers might finally begin to ease. That hope led him into a gathering, unlike ordinary meetings, filled with the most influential men of Quraysh. They sat with confidence, draped in wealth, speaking with authority, believing themselves untouchable by any unseen power. Their presence was rare, their attention even rarer, and that day they were actually listening carefully. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke with wisdom, choosing words that pierced hearts without provoking defensive pride or hostility. Every sentence carried truth, every pause carried meaning, and every glance measured the shifting expressions before him. Hope flickered within him. Perhaps today one heart would soften. Perhaps today history would quietly begin changing forever. The room was tense, yet alive with possibility, like clouds gathering before a long-awaited rain over barren lands. Then, at that fragile peak of attention, something unexpected approached from the edge of the gathering. A man moved slowly, feeling his path, stepping carefully across uneven ground that his eyes could never guide him. His clothes were simple, worn by hardship, yet his heart carried a sincerity unmatched by the powerful men seated. This was Abdullah Ibn Maktoom, a man without sight, yet possessing vision deeper than those with perfect eyes. He had not seen the gathering, nor sensed its political weight, only hearing the beloved voice he longed to follow. Driven by eagerness, he called out, seeking knowledge, seeking truth, seeking words that nourish hearts and illuminate souls. His voice broke into the delicate moment, unintentionally interrupting a conversation balanced between acceptance and rejection. The leaders shifted, their expressions tightening, annoyance flickering across faces, accustomed to control and unquestioned dominance. To them, this interruption felt like disrespect, a disturbance unworthy of their elevated status among people. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt the tension immediately, aware of how fragile this moment truly was. He thought of the greater picture, of thousands who might believe if even one leader accepted the message. Abdullah was already sincere, already seeking, already among those who believed with pure hearts and firm conviction. But these leaders were uncertain, unpredictable, like birds ready to flee at the slightest discomfort or challenge. The interruption continued as Abdullah repeated his request, unaware of timing, unaware of shifting emotions around him. He simply wanted knowledge, simply wanted guidance, simply wanted to be closer to truth and divine pleasure. The moment stretched, pressure built, and a subtle reaction appeared upon the noble face of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He turned slightly away, not in rejection, not in cruelty, but in prioritizing what seemed strategically more urgent. That fleeting expression, that silent turning, that moment unseen by human eyes, became the center of divine attention. Because what humans weigh by outcome, the heavens weigh by sincerity, intention, and the unseen value of hearts. Then came the words from above, words that would never fade, words preserved until the final breath of humanity. Abasa wa tawalla. He frowned and turned away, and ja'ahul a'ma, because the blind man came to him, wama yudrika la'allahu yazakka. And what could make you know? Perhaps he might be purified, aw yadhakkaru fatanfa'ahu dhikra, or be reminded, and the reminder would benefit him. These words descended not with anger, but with a profound lesson wrapped in divine care and correction. It was a moment of turbid mercy, teaching that sincerity outweighs status and seeking hearts outweigh influential gatherings. The message continued, shifting focus toward those who appeared self-sufficient, proud and distant from humility and truth. Amma man istaghna. As for he who thinks himself without need, فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. To him you give attention, وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى. Yet it is not upon you if he does not purify himself. But then came the contrast, the reminder of what truly matters in the sight of the Creator of all existence. وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى. But as for he who came to you striving, وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, while he fears, فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَاهَى. From him you are distracted. These verses reshaped priorities, redefining value, and establishing a principle that would echo across generations of believers. The world measures importance by wealth and influence, but Revelation declared sincerity as the true scale of worth. That day, a blind man was elevated above chiefs, above wealth, above status, above everything humans often admire blindly. And a silent expression became a lesson for humanity, teaching that even the smallest moments carry immense spiritual weight. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received this correction with humility, understanding its depth and eternal significance. His heart absorbed it fully, not resisting, not questioning, but embracing the guidance from his Lord completely. Because this was not criticism in human terms, but refinement from the one who perfects hearts and elevates souls. And from that moment forward, something within him changed in a way that history would never forget. But what followed next would reveal a transformation so profound, it would redefine honor, leadership, and human dignity forever. The moment revelation settled, silence wrapped around the gathering, yet its echo continued shaping destinies beyond that day. The correction was gentle, yet powerful, carrying a message that would dismantle centuries of social hierarchy and pride. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood still, qalb filled with awareness that his Lord had personally guided him again. This was not rebuke as humans understand, but elevation, refining al-qalb chosen to carry the heaviest trust. The meeting ended without triumph. The chiefs departed unchanged, their hearts still sealed beneath layers of arrogance. What seemed like a lost opportunity revealed itself as a greater lesson, one that would outlast empires and civilizations. Because guidance is not measured by influence, but by sincerity, and sincerity had just walked into that gathering unnoticed. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned his thoughts toward Abdullah Ibn Umm Maktoom, the man at the center. The one who could not see the dunya had been seen by the Lord of the heavens in that precise moment. And that realization carried a weight heavier than any political victory that might have been achieved that day. From then onward, something remarkable began to unfold in the behavior of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whenever Abdullah approached, he was welcomed with warmth, respect, and a smile filled with deep appreciation. Not just kindness, but honor, not just attention, but recognition shaped by revelation and divine instruction. He would say words that carried history within them, reminding others of the unseen moment that changed everything forever. He would greet him with care, acknowledging the one for whom revelation descended as guidance for humanity. This was not symbolic respect, but genuine transformation rooted in obedience and understanding of divine priorities. Because the lesson was clear, those who seek truth sincerely hold a maqam beyond those who display status without humility. And leadership in Islam would never again be tied solely to wealth, influence, or tribal superiority among people. Time moved forward, and the message of Islam gradually spread, reaching hearts that had once resisted its truth fiercely. Persecution intensified, yet faith grew stronger, like a flame that refuses to die even in harsh desert winds. Eventually, the call to migrate came, leading believers toward a new beginning in the blessed city of Medina. There, a community was established, built not on lineage, but on Iman, justice, and submission to divine command. And within that growing society, roles were assigned not by status, but by sincerity, trustworthiness, and spiritual strength. Among those honored with responsibility was Abdullah Ibn Maktoom, the same man once overlooked in that gathering. He was appointed among those who would call believers to prayer, raising his voice to mark sacred moments daily. 5 times each day, his call would echo through the streets, inviting hearts toward remembrance and connection with their Lord. Imagine the transformation, a man once dismissed by society, now carrying a role central to the rhythm of Muslim life. This was not coincidence, but the living application of a lesson revealed directly from above the 7 heavens. Even more remarkable was the trust placed upon him during moments when leadership required presence and responsibility. Whenever Muhammad ﷺ left Medina for expeditions, someone needed to lead prayers and guide an-nas. And repeatedly, that trust was given to Abdullah Ibn Umm Maktoom, despite his blindness and former societal perception. He stood as leader in prayer, guiding rows of believers, his voice steady, his heart illuminated by unwavering Iman. He became a symbol, a living proof that value in Islam is measured by a taqwa, not by physical ability or social rank. Those who once measured worth by sight, wealth, and lineage now witnessed a different ma'yar unfolding before their eyes. The ma'yar of sincerity, humility, and fear of Allah replaced Jahiliyyat standards rooted in arrogance and superficial judgment. But the transformation did not stop at leadership roles or daily responsibilities within the growing Muslim community. It extended into the deepest understanding of what it means to strive for the sake of Allah wholeheartedly. Abdullah Ibn Maktoom carried within him a longing, a desire that surpassed physical limitations and worldly constraints. He did not see himself as incapable, nor did he allow blindness to define his contribution to the din. Instead, he sought opportunities to serve, to sacrifice, and to prove that sincerity surpasses all visible limitations. Years passed, and Islam continued to expand beyond Medina, reaching lands that once seemed distant and unreachable. Battles emerged, challenges intensified, and believers were tested in ways that required courage beyond imagination. During one such critical moment, a call was made for participation in battle, a test of commitment and sacrifice. Despite his blindness, Abdullah Ibn Maktoom stepped forward, his heart firm, his intention unwavering and determined. He did not see barriers, only opportunity. Not limitation, but purpose, rooted in faith and trust in Allah. He spoke with conviction, expressing his desire to participate, to stand among those who defend truth and justice. Others might have expected exemption, but his ruh refused to settle for less than complete dedication to the cause. Eventually, he was given a role, not defined by what he lacked, but by what he possessed within his qalb. He carried the banner, a responsibility that required strength, resilience, and unwavering commitment during the chaos of battle. And there, in the midst of conflict, surrounded by noise, movement, and uncertainty, he stood firm, without hesitation. Because for him, sight was never the defining factor. Faith was, and faith guided him more clearly than vision ever could. This moment was not just personal courage, it was the culmination of a lesson revealed years earlier in Makkah. A lesson that began with a silent expression and unfolded into a hayat that redefined dignity and human worth completely. Meanwhile, the verses of Surah Abasa continued to echo, reminding believers of the miyar that must guide their ta'amulat. Kalla innaha tadhkiratun. No, indeed. This is a reminder for man sha'a dhakarahu, so whoever wills may remember it. Fi suhufin mukarrama. In honored records, marfu'atin mutahhara. Exalted and purified bi aidi safara, carried by noble scribes. Kiramin bararatin, honorable and righteous. These verses elevated the message further, showing that revelation itself is preserved with honor and purity beyond human reach. And within that honored message lies guidance for every generation, teaching them how to measure people and situations correctly. The dunya constantly tempts hearts to chase influence, to prioritize status, to value appearances over sincerity and truth. But Surah Abasa stands as a reminder that those who seek Allah sincerely are never insignificant, no matter their condition. The story that began in a quiet gathering now expanded into a universal principle shaping hearts across centuries. And yet, the depth of this lesson was still unfolding, with even greater reflections waiting to be revealed. Because what humans often overlook, Allah elevates, and what humans chase, Allah may reduce to nothing without hesitation. And in the next part, the true weight of this lesson will strike deeper than ever before. Time moved forward, yet the echo of that moment in Makkah never faded from the conscience of believers. It lingered like a quiet nur, illuminating decisions, reshaping intentions, and refining hearts across generations of faithful souls. Because the lesson was not limited to one gathering, nor confined to one individual or a specific circumstance. It was a meyar, a divine scale, revealed to measure human worth beyond illusions created by wealth and worldly pride. Human beings are drawn toward power, naturally inclined to admire influence, status, and visible success in society. Yet revelation came to dismantle that illusion, teaching that what appears great on earth may hold little weight above. And what appears small, unnoticed, even insignificant, may be azim in the sight of the Creator of all existence. The verses continued, not merely narrating an event, but exposing the fragile nature of human growth and self-perception. قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَهُ. Destroyed is man, how ungrateful he is. مِنْ أَيِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقَهُ. From what substance did he create him? مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ خَلَقَهُ فَقَدَّرَهُ. From a drop, he created him and determined him. ثُمَّ السَّبِيلَ يَسَّرَهُ. Then he made the path easy for him. ثُمَّ أَمَاتَهُ فَأَقْبَرَهُ. Then he causes him to die and provides a grave. ثُمَّ إِذَا شَاءَ أَنْشَرَهُ. Then when he wills, he will resurrect him. These words struck deep, reminding humanity of its origin, its fragility, and its complete dependence upon divine will. The same al-insan, who boasts of wealth and influence, was once nothing more than a drop, unseen and insignificant, and yet that same human forgets, becomes arrogant, turns away, and measures others with flawed standards of judgment. This contrast forms the core of Surah Abasa. exposing the illusion of superiority that blinds hearts more than eyes. Because blindness of sight does not prevent guidance, but blindness of al-qalb can prevent a person from ever recognizing truth. Abdullah Ibn Umm Maktoom could not see the world, yet he saw purpose clearer than many who walked confidently in light. Meanwhile, those leaders in Makkah saw everything around them, yet failed to see the truth standing before them clearly. Their eyes functioned perfectly, yet their hearts remained sealed, unable to perceive the nur of revelation presented gently. This is the paradox. The true blindness is not physical, but spiritual, not external, but deeply rooted within hearts. The surah continued, shifting attention toward the signs scattered across creation, calling humans to reflect deeply. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَى طَعَامِهِ. Then let mankind look at his food. أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا. How we poured down water abundantly. ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا. Then we split the earth in cracks. فَأَنْبَتْنَا فِيهَا حَبًّا. And caused grain to grow within it. وَعِنَبًا وَقَضْبًا. And grapes and fresh vegetation. وَزَيْتُونًا وَنَخْلًا. And olives and palm trees, وَحَدَائِقَ غُلْبًا, and gardens of dense growth, وَفَاكِهَةً وَأَبًّا, and fruits and grass. مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ, as provision for you and your cattle. These verses drew attention away from arrogance and toward gratitude, away from pride and toward reflection. Everything humans consume, enjoy, and depend upon is a result of divine mercy, not personal power or control. So how can al-insan, dependent on countless unseen processes, claim superiority over another seeking guidance sincerely? How can one ignore a sincere seeker while pursuing those who feel no need for truth or spiritual purification? The surah then moved toward a scene that would shake every heart, a scene from the Day of Judgment itself. فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَةُ. Then, when the deafening blast comes, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. The day, a person will flee from his brother, وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ, and his mother and his father, وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ, and his spouse and his children, لِكُلِّ إِمْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. Every person that day will have enough concern to distract him. This moment strips away every illusion, every attachment, every meyar humans relied upon in worldly life completely. Family ties will not matter, status will not matter, wealth will not matter, only one's relationship with Allah will remain. And in that moment, who will be honored, the arrogant leader or the humble seeker who feared his Lord sincerely? Who will be elevated, the one who turned away, or the one who came striving with sincerity and longing for guidance? The answer was already given in that small moment in Makkah, in that silent expression witnessed by Allah alone. The surah concluded with a powerful contrast between faces on that day, revealing the final outcomes clearly. Wujuhun yawma'idhin musfira. Some faces that day will be bright, dahikatun mustabshira, laughing, rejoicing with good news, wa wujuhun yawma'idhin alayha ghabaratun. And other faces that day will have dust upon them, tarhaquha qataratun, covered by darkness. Ulaika humul kafaratul fajara. Those are the disbelievers, the wicked ones. Here lies the final scale, the ultimate mariyah, not wealth, not status, but the condition of one's face before Allah. Brightness comes from sincerity, darkness from arrogance, and the al-faq is determined by choices made in the dunya. The story now circles back to its beginning, to that moment when a blind man approached seeking truth sincerely. And a prophet, guided by compassion, momentarily prioritized what seemed strategically beneficial for the broader mission. Yet Allah corrected, not to diminish, but to elevate the standard of how hearts should be approached and valued. Because in the sight of Allah, the one who seeks is never secondary, never less important, never insignificant. This realization reshaped the understanding of doubt, teaching that results belong to Allah, but effort must follow divine guidance. It taught that sincerity must always take precedence over strategy, and humility must guide every interaction with people. As believers reflected on this surah, they began to see the world differently, noticing those often ignored or overlooked. They began valuing intention over appearance, effort over reputation, and sincerity over influence or worldly recognition. And within that transformation lies the true miracle of Surah Abasa, a shift not just in thought, but in entire perspective. But even now, the story is not complete, because its deepest lesson lies not in the past, but in the present. Because every generation faces its own version of that moment, its own choice between status and sincerity, between pride and humility. And what comes next will reveal how this surah speaks directly to us, here, now, in ways we cannot ignore. The story does not end in Makkah, nor in Medina, nor within the lives of those who first heard it. It continues, silently unfolding in every asr, in every society, in every moment where choices define hearts. Because Surah Abasa is not history alone, it is a mirror placed before every soul that claims belief. That same question lingers today, hidden beneath modern lives, distractions, ambitions, and carefully constructed identities. Who do you prioritize when truth calls, the influential or the sincere, the powerful or the humble seeker? The world has changed in appearance, but the nature of human desire has not changed at all. People still chase status, still admire wealth, still measure worth through visibility, influence, and outward success. And just like Makkah, gatherings still exist where power speaks louder than sincerity, and presence defines perceived importance. But somewhere quietly, unnoticed, there is always someone like Abdullah Ibn Umm Maktoom seeking guidance sincerely. Someone without status, without recognition, without influence, yet carrying a qalb alive with longing for truth. And the test repeats, not once but again and again, in subtle ways we often fail to recognize clearly. A message ignored, a question dismissed, a seeker overlooked, all because something else seemed more important. That is where Surah Abasa strikes, not at actions alone, but at intentions hidden beneath seemingly reasonable decisions. Because what appears strategic in the dunya may conflict with what is sincere in the sight of Allah. The lesson is not about abandoning wisdom, but about aligning priorities with divine miyar rather than worldly expectations. It's about recognizing that guidance is not forced into hearts, but welcomed by those already inclined toward truth. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam embodied this transformation completely after receiving that divine reminder from his Lord. His interactions reflected a qalb fully aligned with revelation, where sincerity was never overshadowed by status again. He would give attention to those who sought knowledge, even if they held no position, no wealth, no recognition, because he understood that these were the hearts most ready to receive, to grow, and to carry truth forward. And history proved it. Those once considered weak became pillars of faith, carriers of knowledge, leaders of generations. While many of those powerful leaders faded into irrelevance, remembered only as warnings, not examples to follow. This reversal is not coincidence. It is the natural outcome of divine justice unfolding through time and human choices. Because Allah elevates whom He wills, not based on appearance, but based on sincerity and awareness within hearts. The surah continues to remind, its message echoing across centuries, challenging every believer to examine their priorities carefully. Hal ataka hadithul ghashiyah, has there come to you the story of the overwhelming event, wujuhun yawma idhin khashi'atun. Some faces that day will be humbled, amilatun nasibatun, working hard, exhausted, tasla naran hamiyatan, they will enter a blazing fire. These reminders shift focus again toward the ultimate outcome, the moment where all illusions collapse completely. Effort alone is not enough. Direction matters, intention matters, sincerity determines whether effort leads to success or loss. Because even those who strive tirelessly can fail if their striving is disconnected from truth and divine guidance. And those who seem insignificant may succeed beyond imagination if their hearts are aligned with sincerity and khawf of Allah. Then comes the other side, the faces illuminated, reflecting peace, joy, and the result of choices rooted in faith. Wujuhun yawma'idhin na'ima. Other faces that day will be joyful, lisa'yiha radiya, pleased with their effort fi jannatin aliyah, in a high garden. La tasma'u fiha laghiyatan, where no vain speech is heard. This is the destination of those who chose sincerity over status, truth over comfort, humility over pride. Those who responded when guidance came, even if they had nothing the world considers valuable or worthy. And this is where the story returns fully to its origin, that single moment that seemed small but carried eternal weight. A man approached seeking truth, and a slight turning occurred, unnoticed by people but seen by Allah clearly. That moment became a standard, a reminder, a lesson that continues to judge actions and intentions until today. Now ask yourself, in your own life, how many times have you faced your own version of that moment quietly? How many times has someone approached you sincerely while you were focused on something that seemed more important? How many times have you prioritized appearance, influence, or convenience over sincerity, humility, and genuine need? This surah does not accuse, but it invites reflection, urging hearts to realign before a day where excuses hold no value. Because on that day, there will be no forcer to correct, no moment to return, no chance to revisit missed opportunities. Every interaction, every intention, every subtle choice will stand exposed, measured against divine justice and wisdom. And the miyar will remain unchanged, sincerity above status, humility above pride, seeking hearts above indifferent ones. Surah Abasa is not merely recited, it is lived, it is felt, it is applied in moments that define who we truly are. It teaches that even the most beloved of Allah were guided toward perfection through correction filled with mercy. So what about us, who are far from perfection, who stumble, who overlook, who forget far more often than we realize? The door remains open, the lesson remains clear, the guidance remains preserved, waiting for hearts willing to respond sincerely. Because the same Lord who revealed those verses still sees every moment, every intention, every silent expression we carry. And perhaps right now, someone is at your door, not physically, but through a message, a question, a request for guidance. Will you turn away, or will you respond, remembering the moment when the heavens spoke for a blind seeker? That choice, simple yet profound, may define more than you can ever imagine.